Massive population studies just came out, one in Italy, one in South Korea, over 8.7 million people combined. They compared vaccinated to unvaccinated. The COVID vaccinated individuals suffered increased risks of 7 major cancers, some of the same cancers we see in this new data. We have all of the mechanistic studies now, over 100 studies actually indicate these mRNA injections may induce cancer via 17 distinct mechanisms. Official government data by the National Cancer Institute. We see from 2021 to 2023, the cancer incidence rates, new cancer cases skyrocketed up 6.4%. Colorectal cancers up 19%, and those under 50. Brain tumors up 19%. Small intestine cancer, it's now undeniable.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's crazy, and yet.
Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day folks, how are you? I hope you've had a very good sort of a Friday and life has kept you entertained and hopefully you're up on the day rather than down, so to speak. Your weekend, I hope, is looking good and whatever you go, make sure you do it safely, and if you can help somebody else out along the way, then please make sure you try and do that as best you can. The family have been busy in the chat tonight. Lovely to see so many of you in early. And Paul 01, thank you very much for the offer of the hat. I didn't see the offer last night until I downloaded the chat afterwards, but would love to have a chat about hats. I'm always up for hats. Hang on a minute. I think I showed you my hat last night. This is my gay crocodile hat. Clearly this one was gay when they got it, but I don't mind. You know me, don't mind wearing pink. I'm a man. I eat quiche. Well, not regularly, I'll admit. How's everybody been? Just trying to get up to the top and see who was first in. Aussie Sue, of course you were first in. I know that because the second thing I did was star this. So thank you very much. And yes, folks, if you can give us a thumbs up, that would be bloody awesome. The algorithm is slowly but surely, I think, turning our way. I say that, and then, you know, a day later it'll all crash down. And of course, after last night's show, anything is possible. I think there might be a bit of a new audience watching tonight to see who's going to say what about a particular subject. And I guess I'll get to that in the not too distant future. But apparently, I have raised a few eyebrows. Paul, I think that might be the subject that you might have been referring to when you put that comment up earlier. Gomez, you left one that I spied earlier too. Liberals giving Hanson a hard time. They'll never join her. They are always have, always will be the duopoly with Labor. Pauline Hanson, made a very good statement from the back of I'd probably say a black cab in London. Today it was released, so in the last 12, 24 hours or so, where she was replying to what Angus Taylor has said about her and I guess the party. He seems to have said something quite scathing. I haven't bothered watching anything of it. Her reply, I thought, was restrained by political standards. I think she was very statesmanlike. So now I've got to go and have a look at what he said that pissed her off so much, but I haven't had time to get around to that today, unfortunately. Funnily enough, the things Angus Taylor says don't figure highly in my life as things I've got to go and check out. You think the Libs are shitting themselves? Yes, I think they probably are. It's certainly quite clear that Andrew Hastie is shitting himself and canning his seat in Western Australia. I think he lives in Kalgoorlie or somewhere like that. He's come out and basically stated that One Nation are gunning for his seat and making it sound like they're picking on him. Well, I have a little bit of news. I don't believe that Andrew Hasty is being picked on in any way, shape, or way. One Nation aren't just targeting Andrew Hasty. They are targeting every seat in the country, I believe. So I think Andrew should stop the whining, stop the carry on, and get on with it.
Everybody always picking on me.
Stop saying, why is everybody always picking on me? It's so sad. Stop it. So Hasty and every other Liberal needs to be very worried. The polls, if you can trust the polls, indicate that the Liberals will be lucky to hold 12 seats and the Nationals will hold nothing. However, I did see something today that said exactly the opposite. Now, I don't know whether this was just some AI piece of crap. I never watched the whole thing. But it was suggesting today that the Liberal Nationals had come back up something in the vicinity of 6 or 7 points, and that Labor had gone up 3 points and One Nation had dropped 7 or 8 points or some bloody shit. Anyway, I dismissed it. And actually, let me just have a quick look here. Darren Hinch died today. Yes, the human headline, as we used to call him, or as he used to like calling himself. I suppose so. A little bit of quick news on Darren. I knew Darren many, many years ago, in the 80s. He was working at 3AW and was just about to pick up the Hinch TV program out of Channel 7. I haven't seen him since those days, so that's a little bit sad. But Hinch was not a man that generally developed great relationships with the likes of people like me. I do know one of his best mates pretty well, and he's a very, very nice fella, and I'm sure we'll be feeling the loss deeply, as will many people in Melbourne in theatrical terms. He was a big supporter of the arts in Victoria, and of course he was a former senator for the Justice Party from memory. So died. He had cancer. He was diagnosed with cancer, I think, last November, and of course was fully jabbed. So he got away with a kidney transplant, I think it was, or maybe a liver. No, liver transplant. Might have been both. He did that some years ago and gave up drinking because he felt in honor of his donor that he would not assault the liver the same way that he'd assaulted the one that God gave him and not drink. And then he discovered that his donor was a drug addict, and he figured that the drug addict would be okay with him having a drink now and again, particularly once he discovered that he had terminal cancer, and by the sounds of it, a turbo version of it. So Hinch was known to pick up 1 or 2 glasses after that and have a red wine. He used to love a red wine. So I don't know whether or not he was able to drink red in the end. However, we've all got to die. 82 years old is pretty bloody good in most people's book. I think he probably would have had a pretty fair go of it at that, and I think he would agree. So farewell, Darren Hinch, and his funeral will be something to watch. I'm sure we'll see it on the news or whatever, but he plans to go out always with style. He used to end the Hinch show, and his radio show for that matter, with Frank Sinatra's That's Life. And that's what will be played as they carry him out of the church. And he has recorded, apparently, a thing that says, "I'm Darren Hinch. That's life. Goodbye," as he gets taken out of the church. So good luck to him. And Be interesting to know where he winds up. I have my suspicions. But then again, got my suspicions about where I'm going to wind up. So shit, weird things happen. Now, yes, so I've answered Paul about your hat. Yes, hats are good. I love hats. We've got some great hats on our website if you'd like to go and check them out, merch.vofhq.com. Vince won't be joining us tonight. Now, I'm saddened by this news, and I have invited a stand-in beard, but the stand-in beard is working until a certain time. Then has to get home from work, set up the feed, and jump in. So I'm hoping that the stand-in beard does make an appearance. He promises to do more than just wave, although remains to be seen what he's capable of. And hopefully we'll see him before the end of the show, but he hasn't popped in yet. Robert, you're in the show. G'day to Pete from Pinaroo too, who's been sending me some stuff. Oh, somebody sent me something earlier that I've got to acknowledge. What was that? I don't know now. Oh, Greg, thank you. What the? Thank you for the link that you sent me to that BitChute channel. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. The lovely Sunflower, glad you're in the house. Hi, Margot. Paul's chatty. Western Australia's cold tonight. The big fella is in the house. G'day, Bear. I hope you're feeling better. I have got your messages. I'm sorry. I missed a call. I owe you a call. I read your text, said you'd been sick. I thought I'd let you get over it a bit further. And to be honest, some weird things have been going on with me too. I've been a bit crook. Well, I share. Sometimes I overshare, and I apologise if this offends you. Particularly if you're having dinner, you might want to put your fork down. This morning, woken up with not a splitting headache, but a significant headache. And I woke about 5 o'clock. And I couldn't get comfortable. I didn't want to get out of bed because it was about 9 degrees, and parts of me were, starting to freeze already. Anyway, by about 5:45, I decided there was no point lying in bed. The head wasn't getting any better, and the Panadol, for what it's worth, was down the other end of the bus. So I jumped out of bed, staggered down in the cold, got myself a couple of Panadol, and then thought, might go and get something to wash that down with. So the dogs that I'm currently babysitting, one of whom is asleep at my feet here at the moment, and no doubt will start whining in the not too distant future, jump in the car and drive the 5-10 minutes down to the local servo, where I get out of the car and immediately get that little feeling you get when you know you're going to throw up. I had that feeling the second I got out of the car, and I'd never taken any notice of whether or not this servo has any toilets inside. So I knew that there was a certain urgency to what I was feeling, and that going inside to explore if they had toilets or not may mean the difference between throwing up inside their store or somewhere outside of it. So I chose outside of it and snuck my way around the side. I'm sure all the security cameras were trained on me. And yes, I had a little stomach evacuation out of nowhere. But interestingly, my headache disappeared, like almost instantly. Recognized it before I could go into the store and get a little bit of water to wash my mouth out. So that was just today, but I've been feeling, as you know, for the last couple of weeks, on and off crook. And it hasn't been because I've caught anything from South Australia. I just think it's been because I've been eating shit, or I'm sure that's the case, but I don't know. There has been. But anyway, after this morning, feeling bloody great. Feeling the best I've felt in weeks, to be honest. So hoping you're the same, Clayton. Really do. The lovely Connie, and I hope, Alan, you're doing well. Silver Fox, hope your leg is doing the things that you would hope it to be doing by now and not causing you too much pain. Hello, Joanne. I hope you are well, and I hope you've had a great day too. Fuzzy's in the shop. Well, I haven't seen Fuzzy in the shop for a while. Nice to have you, Fuzzy. I hope the hounds are okay. Does anyone here suffer from chronic back pain, and what helps with the pain? X39 patches, I find, which I have found. Well, I did find, and now I appear to have, misplaced. I got some. X39 patches work really well. You can get a link. Oh, well, I guess I can show you a link up here. There. Maybe I can stop that from rotating. Would that help? But anyway, I can't do it while it's rotating. So if you would like X39 patches, there is that. Always useful. And there are some, well, two ways you can look at the patches. You can look at them to buy them and just use them. And if you don't want to try and make money out of it, you don't have to, and there's no obligation for you to do anything like that. And that is by going down the preferred customer route, I think it is. But if you actually, if they work for you and you want to share that with people, rather than sharing your own patches and you want them to buy their own, then you get your own link like that, and you'll get a little bit, I think it's $15 from every packet of patches that somebody buys. Now, I've got to say, I'm not making a huge amount of money out of it, but the money that I do get on a, let's call it every 3 months, I might look at it and try and see what's in it and extract the money out of it. You know, there's a couple of $300-400 there, and then it turns into US dollars. So that can be quite useful because it's US dollars transferred back to Australian dollars. So whatever they tell you they send you in US dollars, it winds up being a bit more in your account. And I guess for the time being, we'll see how long that lasts, because there's some interesting things going on with the US dollar and prices of gold and silver, amongst other things. So watch this space is all I can say. G'day, Andrew. Hope things are well in your part of the world, mate. And the puppy photos, I don't think I've got room to stick them in tonight. We have puppies, and if you are interested in puppies, these puppies are now a week old, and they're like this big. They're going to be big pups, well, even bigger dogs. So if you are interested, these puppies are going to be available for you to purchase, and every one of them that's sold will get the Voice of Freedom a $100 donation, I think was the offer. So thank you very much for pushing that for us, Andrew. I really hope that we can find some good homes for them, homes that have big yards and access to a fair bit of food. All right, let's have a little bit of a chat about this thing that I forgot to show you last night, which was rather distressing. I do apologize. So Darren Bergwerf shared this. It's a post from somebody else, and I love the way it starts. Someone I know was talking to a friend who told her that her child came home with a letter from school saying the school was offering free retina checks. There was a logo on the letter, and the parent looked into it. The logo was for a digital ID company. There was no mention in the letter itself that the retina checks were anything to do with a digital ID company. So she went to the school to ask them, and the school secretary admitted that retina checks were, in fact, everything to do with digital ID. So she was just, well, the author at least, is just checking to let people know that if they do hear of their children having retina checks at school, and I would assume a note would have to go home to parents to get some approval, but things might have changed. These days, maybe you sign a blanket approval at the start of the year and they can do whatever the hell they like to your child without consulting you again. But they're doing it by deception, via medical interference, and they're identifying your child as a stock product number built into a deranged total control surveillance system without your permission. God gave us our children. They do not belong to the corporate fascist state. If you can't see this, pity for you. Just say no, ain't that the truth? So if that is the truth, and I have absolutely no reason at all to suspect they wouldn't do that. In fact, the eye tests, I'm sure they do eye tests running through schools now, probably from primary school all the way through. Pardon me. I'm suggesting that it's already happening. These bastards know no bounds. They certainly know no bounds when it comes to privacy, which is, just wrong. Okay, now we're talking about, sorry, I'm just having a bit of a glance down through the chat, and I've jumped into the middle of something. G'day, Rachel. Hope you're all right. Haven't seen you. Back after 2 whole weeks without a computer. Well, that'd explain why we haven't seen you. The blue screen of death. Oh, no. Well, you would consider yourself well detoxed then, I hope. Although I suppose you've had access to a phone maybe that's given you a bit of internet access. But lovely to have you back. I'm rapt to have you back. I'm sorry, I'm reading these with you as we go. Johnny Young popped into a job you were doing once, poked his head around the corner first and then stepped into the room. And my God, I'm gathering you're saying he is tall. Okay. I don't know where this conversation was going. In fact, I'm going to give up trying to chase it. Almond seeds are good for headaches. Snorkel the Great. Almond seeds are so good for a number of things I've heard. Just be very careful of your almond seeds, folks, if you're taking them for a headache remedy. That's all I'll say. Thank you, Snorkel the Great. What an interesting name. Morning sickness. That survey will make anybody spew. Thank you, Toxic. Yes, you're probably quite right there. Although this survey is particularly clean and only very new. There is a lot going on in our atmosphere. And I'm sure One Eye, who I don't think is in the chat live tonight, but I really should get him on. He watches the sun. Might explain why he's only got one eye. But I'm sorry, cheap joke. He does tell me of the sun's ejections, though, and those ejections, particularly if they're in the general direction of the Earth, do have some significant output or some significant impact on not just our atmosphere but also ourselves. And he's a good one for explaining that. So I might have to ask him if he'll come on and share some of that wisdom, which we would love to see. Andrew, I need to hydrate myself better before bed. Okay. Would that help? I mean, I was always taught to have something before bed. I don't think I'll be having the glaver, don't worry. I do have a bottle of water over there somewhere. But I do need to drink more water. A lot more water. You bet it might be dehydration. You're probably... Well, that's probably not a stupid bet. Let me just say now that I think about it. Silver Fox, good news for you. And as Sunflower says, that's fantastic. I'll have to scroll back and have a look at what the good news is. But I hope that you're walking, that it's all feeling good and hasn't fallen off or turned black. We know how that goes, don't we, Watha? Slow pelvic push-ups and slow twists, small toilet cubicle, feet at different distances until verification to localize the point. I don't think we want to know what you're doing in the toilet there, Daniel. It's nice of you to share. But that could be read a number of different ways, and if you wound up in prison, I'd suggest you'd want to be pretty careful about who your friends were. Yeah. All right. Puppies or what? Chesterfield Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Andrew. Mix of Wolfhound, Dane, Bull Arab, German Shepherd, and Blue Dog. And I can't. My phone's not even close to me to send them to myself because they come to me on my phone. I've got to email them to self to get them into the computer. So I can't show you. But they are little footballs just at the moment. Can I tell you? They look pretty friggin' cute. So if you're after a dog, Andrew, in the chat, and if you can't get onto the chat, you're watching this afterwards, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I will hook you up with Andrew. And you can keep an eye on what might be your new little puppy. Clayton Bear, you have me confused. Something's happened. Oh, maybe that was what I was telling you. Yes, right. Okay. Should be illegal. Right. I'm catching up with your chat. Seems like we're close enough. Do you drink a bottle already? No, Daniel. I think that's the same bottle. I haven't opened it. I never opened it. I also have a what else do I have down here? I'll have to blow the dust off it, but hang on. I don't want to drop it. I really don't want to drop this one. No, it's going to require... Oh, no, I was going to say it requires better than average effort. I have a very large bottle of Johnny Red, which I don't know if you can see the dust on it. It sits in a shelf down here beside me, and it must have sat there for 2 years more, unopened. No, I haven't had a stash. It's just that I refuse to drink alone, and I like to be prepared. But if you're a beer drinker and you turn up here, you're going to be at a loss. So, sorry, can't help. Well, the Johnny Red might be good with Coke, yes. But the Glava, you don't... ice. Just ice. But yes, refuse to drink alone. That's the story I'm staying. Well, I don't drink alone. So it's not a story. It's just me. All right. So be careful of kids with eye exams and the way that they are going to gain retina access. And that's what some of these big data centers that we're going to be doing, having in our midst, will be keeping all of that data. Now, I don't know if you happen to be bumping into a lawyer in any time in the near future, but if you do, and you're paying for his time anyway, could you ask him a question for me? Could you ask whether or not, maybe this is a question for Spiros, how would we as a class action group, meaning all Australians, be able to access the data centers or the companies that utilize the data centers to pay for each data point they have on us in the cloud? So we will already be assigned a number, and each number will have a lot of data points, cloud points, if you like. And that's why these data centers are important, so they can collate information and put it all together, and so they can sell you things and market ads to you that will interest you, rather than trying to sell you a Holden if you're a Ford man or a Ford if you're a Holden man. You'll only see the brand you like, that sort of thing. It goes a lot further, but that on the face of it is enough to get us paid. So I'm hopeful of catching up with Peter Pham. I keep saying that, but I never get to the Sunshine Coast. I'm hopeful of catching up with him in the next couple of weeks. We have to coordinate because there are times where he's available, times where he's in court, and it makes it difficult. But with a little bit of luck and God willing, we'll get this machine that I'm sitting in registered, and we'll head up to the Sunshine Coast. I might just park outside his office until he comes out to see me. It's probably the easiest way to do it. But I'll ask him about that as well. I did ask him, spoke to him briefly in between court appearances the other day, after the Cass session, the Cass Smith interview that we had the other night, where we talked about this invasion of privacy, as I see it, from the government, wanting to get into, well, everybody from your local real estate agent and lower down to potentially your lawyer and breaching privilege. Lawyers are smart. They probably, as Cass said, have a way around it. But Peter didn't think that would be the case. He just assumed, or didn't assume, he just said his area of the law, it has really no impact on whatsoever. And he's a human rights lawyer. And I would be better off talking to somebody in the criminal sphere for that sort of thing. So I'd be interested in talking to somebody in the criminal sphere for that, if you know one of them too. And last night I spoke about a few things, but I spoke about somebody calling me anti-Semitist, and I wanted to push back on that a little bit. Now, there will be a conversation between myself and that person. I don't know that it's going to be a public conversation, but I really do look forward to a conversation and to learn more and maybe gain some answers to the questions that I posed. I have had a lot of response to those questions. Some of it's misguided because I haven't said anything that I or any reasonable person should, would, or could find offensive. What I have done is ask a couple of questions that appear to have triggered certain people. And I'm sorry that that's triggered you. Thankfully, among you, there seem to be some clearer heads who are happier to come and talk about those questions. And the questions I'm referring to are the questions of the Jewish nation. Has the Jewish nation ever looked at itself and asked, why are we always suffering? Why is it always us? Why is everybody...
Why is everybody always picking on me?
They haven't asked that. They just demand that we provide more security, that we stop other people's freedoms, including their freedom of speech, because of something that is unclear at best that happened in the Second World War. Now, I'm led to believe that I'll be able to have a conversation with the Jewish guy who is very happy to open my eyes to why we should be understanding and why Israel seems to get a free pass in everything, and why the mere mention of Jews doing anything seems to elicit a response of, you're picking on me, stop picking on me, you're an anti-Semitist, I'm going to get you locked up, I'm going to get your business shut down, and it happens. I just don't know why. So hopefully we will get some of those answers to the questions, particularly the question of why have at least 109 nations in the history of the world kicked the Jews out of their country, including Germany in after 1933, when Judea or Judaism declared war on Germany. Did you know that in 1933? Judea declared war on Germany. That was because Hitler was cleaning up places like Berlin that were the then modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was all owned by Jewish businessmen. The banks, the financing, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and the pawnbroker, as it turned out, in the clubs. And they prided themselves that you could get anything was on the menu in those clubs in Berlin. And if you ask the right people in the right circles, you'll probably be told the same was still happening today. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that going forward. But I am hopeful that some clarity will come my way. And by my way, I mean our way, because I know that you guys are very interested in getting an answer on that one too. We may not be able to share it because this woman is going to fire up some new online safety laws. Apparently, our online safety laws are not strict enough, somewhat empowered by Britain taking on what is ostensibly our under 16 age restriction laws for the internet. It's been made fairly public that most 16-year-olds can still access any part of the internet they like, whenever they like, that there have been ways to circumvent this technology and this block for anybody under 16 being able to access social media and those sorts of things. So she's gone back and asked for more powers. And the government, Albo Sleazy, remember this bloke? That bloke. He's happy enough to hand over more powers. In fact, they're also going to add the official welcome to country to the official Labor Party platform. I don't know what that exactly means. I think it means that every time you go to anything Labor, they're going to stand up and thank everybody, get some Aboriginal to welcome everybody to country, pay them $500 to $5,000, depending on which part of the country you're being welcomed to exactly. And then you'll be allowed to go off and have your meeting or have your party or have your whatever it is you're going to have. So because Pauline Hanson has made it very clear that welcome to country is going to be turfed out of anything official if One Nation get into power and have anything to say about it, the Labor Party now, in spite of the public opinion that is so clearly in favour of that idea, the Labor Party now have decided, oh, no, we're going to make it part of our platform. Part of our platform. Not very friggin' smart. They are very smart when it comes to scamming money, though. The Indian Prime Minister Modi is in Melbourne, and he will be meeting with Sleazy, apparently. Now, I'm sure there'll be a lot of patriots rallied for that in Melbourne and trying to just point out that the current numbers are a bit strong. That's going to probably upset Modi if he sees that, because the news that the Noticer is putting out, and I know I'm giving him a good flogging tonight, the Noticer, Modi is to demand a faster visa approvals for Indians during his Australian visit, because clearly we're not getting them through the door fast enough. Now, I was slightly encouraged to hear that a deal has been struck along with faster visa approvals for our Australian universities to open campuses, or is it campi? I'm not sure. Campuses in India, which would be great. We can train their people to stay in India. I fear that the campuses just could be turned into call centres, scamming people all over the world. But I'm told that that is a fairly well filled out business in India at the moment, and they're looking to export that technology through our front door to Australia, so that the scams can sound a lot more reasonable when you know they're not coming from overseas. Just be a bit careful. I think there is going to be a lot of pushback in Melbourne with Modi over the weekend. I think he's there until Sunday, and I think it's going to be a very interesting time for folks who are desperate for changes, desperate for housing, desperate for lower cost of living. And this Alba Sleazy government are incapable of providing anything other than drivel or lies in response. Drivel or lies. Here's something that you might be encouraged about. There is not much to be encouraged about in Victoria, I've got to be honest. But I would find this encouraging if you are Victorian. This is a map of the Victorian suburbs with the worst toddler vaccination rates. Everything that's red is very, very bad, which, in the inverted world we live in, is very, very good for your child. All right, give you another look. Now, these are the areas of Victoria in red that have the lowest vaccination rates. The green, obviously, the highest, and the orange, well, it's waning, put it that way. Now, there has been major calls throughout Victoria, and now a federal thing has gone out saying that children's vaccinations should be done, should be adhered to, should be doing that as soon as they're born. Now, I think people have started to wake up. New parents have started to wake up to the fact, and they've asked around, Mum, how many injections did you have before you were 10 when you were born? Oh, might have had 1, might have had 2. I think me personally, born mid-60s, I think I had, it's hard to tell because I went overseas and had smallpox for that trip in 1970 and a few other shots. But school vaccinations, that kind of thing, I probably remember half a dozen, maybe 8 all the way through school. The girls copped it worse than the boys. They had to go and get the rubella shots and all that sort of stuff. I don't think we ever really got a needle as such until we were in high school. And I do remember the polio on a spoon, a little bit of pink fluid on the spoon. I remember getting that at some stage in primary school. But nowadays they get like 80 different kinds of jabs before they're 10. They get something like 30 in the first year of life. I find that quite staggering. That's a couple a month, over a couple a month. And we wonder why SIDS. Well, isn't it interesting? Is SIDS still a thing? Sudden infant death syndrome. You know what you don't see anymore? SIDS Day. Do you remember the red noses? You'd put the red nose on, you'd raise money for sudden infant death syndrome. Do you think they might have been testing vaccines at that time? I'm just hypothesizing. But do you think they just might have been testing some of this shit back in the 80s and the 90s? Perfecting it for the noughties and the nows. No more SIDS. We're not raising money for that anymore. As far as I know, it still might be happening, but I don't recall it being a thing. Not anymore. Here's a new and interesting thing. It's very rare that you see a US Coast Guard cutter off the Australian coast. This was taken a couple of days ago off the coast of Brisbane. Why? They were screaming, have we got the US Coast Guard here? Well, it's because we're the 53rd state. Should have been the 51st, but I think Canada and Venezuela have got in before us. No, look, it may well be because we're the 53rd state. It might be because the Americans have decided to come down and take a look and protect their interests down this way and see what we're doing. It could be that we've just had a major international exercise involving a number of US military assets, and it's not unusual for US Coast Guard to be involved in something like that, considering they are essentially a paramilitary force that just happens to rescue people as their primary reason to be out on the ocean. But they are as sophisticated electronically as the best American warships, particularly the ones that are traversing the Pacific at the moment. Why is that? Well, that boat would have been somewhere out in the Pacific when China launched its ballistic missile out of the submarine a few days ago and had it land somewhere the other side of Vanuatu. Now, there might have been some tracking involved with that kind of thing. That ship, I don't know if I can see it. I'll have to take that on advisement. I'll get that out later and just check whether I can see a certain kind of satellite box on that bridge. If it has that certain kind of satellite box, it'll be getting live data from CENTCOM, if you like, coming from all the sensors available around the world, looking for things like missile launches. So it would have known instantly. But I suspect that it's been here off the coast working with that military exercise that's been happening recently and patrolling for anything of interest in the South Pacific. anything that might have a Chinese flag on it, for instance. This is also a nice way of the Americans showing they're around without showing them the guns that are around, because while these US Coast Guard ships are armed to a certain degree, they are not armed in a way like a US frigate or a US destroyer or a US aircraft carrier is armed. So they might get some solace out of that, I guess. I did point out that Albo has been rather busy in the last week or so. He's been, I think, in Fiji, and he was at a footy game, I think, tonight or maybe tomorrow or somewhere I heard. And this is what makes articles like this a little infuriating to me. Now, this came out the day that Albo went to Fiji. At the same time, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese resigned and promptly disappeared. Haven't heard of either of that. Now, the White Hats and International Maritime Alliance has seized the Australian Treasury after they found $64 million routed to 9 senior Australian ministers for the purposes of destroying Australian domestic farming so as to create a food shortage, and 2, a plan to block the global currency reset, and 3, a plan to deploy the military against their own Australian citizens if the global restoration plan was announced. Well, I think Albo's still floating around, or at least the next version of him is. Good luck to him. It just annoys me a bit that this sort of thing happens, and it is what it is. That's why we don't like to give away too many dates, because you always wind up getting bitten in the bum by them. I can see in the back room our stand-in Beard for the evening has actually arrived home from work. I will bring him into the show very, very shortly. Before I do, I want to ask you, if you were a pedophile and you were a billionaire and you were interested in buying an island, what would you do? Well, of course, you go to a very ritzy venue with all your other billionaire mates, and you talk to the ritzy billionaire island sales.
In Thailand.
Been to Thailand before.
Have you?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
What comes with the island?
There's a small villa there. You could practically build what you want.
They're building things.
Yeah, there's
Do the islands come with the children, or the children?
this island does have a small school. There are children.
Okay, so I don't know if that was a stupid.
Yeah.
What countries are near to abduct them from?
Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam,
Philippines?
The Philippines.
Of course.
The Filipinos, if they're not being a nurse, they're being your crew. Okay, so.
True.
Yeah, so.
What age ranges?
Below 10, I don't.
Those conversations happen. Apparently they happened a while ago, because the camera filming that is very, very old. I would say that is 80s, maybe even 90s, but I would say, in fact, I'll bring in the Beard, because the Beard might be able to give me a bit more of an idea of the quality of video of that. The stand-in Beard for tonight, who I'm now prompting to wave, because that's what the Beards do on our program on Friday nights, is a fine gentleman who you all know very, very well. His name is Michael Offe. Welcome him along to the evening show. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you? Sorry for coming in a bit late, but
A little late
a bit of fun
arrival.
at work.
Well, that's all right. Sorry, we didn't get the wave, but I did see you did it off camera. Oh, that's a very cool wave. Hey, I'm going to get you to put your professional hat on at the moment, so we can cover your bald spot. Sorry, so you can tell us how this is meant to work. That is a pretty old-looking videotape. Get rid of the shiny spot. Yeah, that's the way. That's a pretty old video in my estimation. I haven't run it through a video checker, but it looks like a VHS tape type quality. Are you surprised? All this sort of white hat video that we are seeing at the moment does seem to be very old. It's a bit like UFO vision. It's always taken off a camera that's always blurry or a long way away.
Yeah, it does make it a little bit hard to analyse, doesn't it?
It does. So
Yeah.
I won't get your professional opinion on it because I'd probably have to wind up playing it again. And that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Now,
I did watch it, but yeah, I agree. The quality was certainly lacking, and it was a little bit hard to work out why, or whether it was old footage, as you say, or fairly badly compressed, or what.
yeah.
But,
And then we can go to this footage, which, well, it's much clearer, but I'm not sure that it's any more real.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Now, that's the Prime Minister of Canada. Doesn't he look happy talking about that? The new world order. Cheery kind of fella. No, that's not AI. It is actually real. And he was talking about a new trade agreement that they have signed with China, which doesn't look like he's had both arms bent 3/4 of the way up his back before he signed it at all. Just my thoughts.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, there's something else I want to touch on before we get on to. In fact, I've got a whole wall here of stuff we've still got to get to. But we might run a little longer tonight. Who the hell cares? It's Friday. We'll have a scotch. This is something that'll probably interest you, Michael, because I know that you're into things electrified. People who have Teslas or other sorts of electric cars. I mean, you've heard the warnings about having the family jewels located so close to a large amount of batteries, and what the radiation that is coming off those batteries could in fact do to your ability to further your line going forward. Well, somebody took one of those EMF testers for a walk into the car park near the Tesla chargers. Get a load of this.
Off the charts. Just gonna walk around here, show you guys how much EMF. This thing's just going crazy. Right? Look at that. It's going so high. Shouldn't even be standing here. But as people charge their car, that radiation cooks the body. That's why they're pushing this. Now, what's interesting is we look around here, and it's just an open parking lot. So there's no towers, but this whole system is all linked up to the towers, and each car is also acting like a tower, emitting harmful radiation.
Yeah, question is it the cars doing it, or is it the charging stations and those big electric booster boxes that are sitting next to each charge station?
That's what. Well,
Either way, you're
seem to
sitting
be
there for an hour or so trying to recharge.
Yeah, you're sitting on your batteries while they're being recharged, being bathed in this radiation. And I would say it's the units, because there aren't cars plugged into them at the like there. That's just their charge sitting there ready to go. It's what they're putting out in their state. So I'd reckon it would be higher once you've got it actually going and charging something, particularly if you've got 3 or 4 of them side by side. Can you imagine? Geez, it'd make parts of you tingle as you walk past them, I think. So I'd be very wary of that. And what happens in your house?
Perhaps you can take your bag.
Well, yeah. What happens in your house, though? I mean, if people are still stupid enough,
you can take your bag of popcorn.
Yeah. If people are still stupid enough to be charging these things in their houses, not parked out on the street somewhere, so when the battery goes up, it doesn't take your house up with it. But I imagine that this radiation is the same kind of radiation levels will be coming out of your charger at home. What is your big Tesla battery at home emitting? You know, those big wall batteries that power houses? How much RF are they putting out, I wonder? So if you've got an RF meter, folks, and you've got Tesla batteries or Tesla walls or indeed electric cars parked in your garage, and I'd really love a little video of just how high the readings are. And how do you feel about those readings now that you know that you're being irradiated, so to speak? Certainly a little unpleasant. Something you and I talk about, Michael, on occasion is robotics and animatronics and drones and these sorts of things. The UN have, I don't know, finally woken up to themselves, come out with something that I think the world really does need to consider. And I think the only reason the UN are coming out publicly and saying the world needs to consider this is because they're shit scared of it.
My main concern is with little autonomous weapon systems. Let us call them what they are, killer robots. Machines selecting and engaging their target and taking a life without human control and judgment. That is morally repugnant, it is politically unacceptable, and it must be banned by international law.
And then when they went to China and said, well, listen, China, what do you think about this? We can't have these sort of big AI robots going on. China said, we know nothing of what you speak. We know nothing. We know. I'm probably going to get banned for that one because I didn't mute the music. But how would you like one of those coming over your backyard fence?
Yeah, it looks like it has a bit of agility to it. Yeah. Wouldn't be the best sight in the morning.
They seem to know no bounds when it comes to agilities. I was only, well, I think I had this in a dream. I usually don't remember my dreams, but somehow in the back of my psyche, I'm a bit concerned about robots chasing me somewhere in the future, obviously. And I'm thinking I've got to learn how to throw is it a bolo or a boleo or something? I think the Spanish guys used to whirl them around. They're like a rope with two rocks at each end kind of thing. And they fling it and spin it. And you got to, like Empire Strikes Back, bringing down the big walking bloody stalker things in the ice. You got to wrap up their legs somehow so that they can't chase you.
You can go a bit more Australian, just go with a good stock whip.
Oh, and I've got one. I feel safer already. Actually, I haven't got a good one. I've got a shit one. Here's a trap for young players. I went in to support a lady who'd come to an event that I was at and was supporting me. And she owned a little bric-a-brac shop in a little town, and I promised that I'd call in the next day. And I had been looking for a stock whip because I quite like the idea of, I used to be quite good with one when I was a kid. And I don't know, getting older, want to relive my old days and haven't got a gun. So I saw that she had these stock whips. So I wound up buying one, which was well over $100. And I only found out as I was walking out the door that it's not Australian made. It's somebody Chinese or something. I don't know. And it might explain why it has a really, my stock whip cracks with a lisp. It just doesn't sound right. It sort of sounds like a half wheeze, half sneeze. It's not very flash at all. So if you know any Australian good stock whip makers, I'm very keen to talk to somebody, and I would happily promote them as long as they teach me how I can use them again without taking an eye or an ear off. I seem to remember an ear coming very close to departing me there at one stage. I guess, though, if we run into that thing is called a combat wolf. All right. But the good thing about the combat wolf is they appear to have figured out what happens after they shoot us. How do you feel about cremation? I'm asking you, Michael, how do you feel about
Not
cremation?
for me.
Yeah.
Well, preferably not while I'm alive.
No, not something you'd want to endure while you're alive. But if there were choices, would you choose burial or cremation?
Probably a little bit traditional in that matter, and probably more burial, I think. You've got to feed the
So
worms.
this bit might be okay with
If
you
a
then.
traditional burial or cremation isn't for you, there may soon be a new option available to Sydney-siders after they die. A bill to legalise human composting is being introduced to State Parliament as a low-cost and eco-friendly alternative.
We are running out of burial space, which is becoming increasingly expensive across New South Wales. And we also know that a number of people are concerned about the environmental impacts of cremation.
If it passes Parliament, it could be an option within 18 months.
It's a little different to what I was thinking.
It'll certainly make going to Bunnings to the fertiliser department a much more interesting trip. Nana! I'm just here to pick up a bag of Nana. I mean, there's a whole heap of lines I could do on that, but I know people are suffering. They might be grieving at the moment, and they may not like me making jokes about the different flavours of dead people we could put into compost. But
We'll leave that for another day.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of places. Some of them are extremely stupid, but thankfully we have people who are much brighter than you and I, Michael, that are thinking about these things. And some of them appear to be working in the airlines. God love them for thinking about new and interesting ways for us to get from Brisbane to Los Angeles. Having recently been on a plane, I can tell you that while the legroom seems to have improved in their version of it, I don't think I'd find that a terribly comfortable trip. But who knows? That could become the standard for aircraft on short jaunts, up to maybe an hour, hour and a half. Think Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, those sorts of flights. How much would you pay to stand up and have your carry-on bag between your feet for the journey? Or would you?
Not a great deal, I don't think. If that's all due to trying to reduce emissions targets, I think I'll take a diesel ute somewhere.
And drive it very rapidly. Absolutely insane. All right, well, listen, on to the reason that we invited you to step in for the other beard this evening. It's not just because of your good looks and your extreme personality. It is indeed that we need to rally a little bit of support, because we're going back to court with Paul. The Freedom Truck appeal is happening on the 27th of July in Canberra in the Supreme Court. There's a picture of well, I was going to say the old girl. She was never really old. She was brand new when she went to Canberra, and I can tell you that she doesn't look like that now. Paul got to have a good look at the truck while he was on trial down there. And Michael, well, you can tell us, when he drove it into Canberra, what was the book value and everything that had been done to it? How much did he have on it? About $220,000?
Yeah, currently to replace it, it'd be, well, it's a total custom build, and it's the only one like it in the country. So, to replace it now, I mean, back then it was about 220. It would be well over 250 now.
Oh, yeah.
It could be as more like 300 with the way costs have gone up in that time frame.
Of course, it doesn't look like that anymore.
No, it was very schmick because it was ready to go into chauffeuring service at $1,000 an hour. That was exactly what it was already being listed for, and already had potential bookings lined up for. So,
and you were going to be a movie star in it too.
It was in already shot in half of a feature production, and they couldn't actually ever really. It pretty much interrupted the whole movie and sunk it for the most part. Really,
Yeah.
certainly
Wow.
caused a lot of problems. That I don't think it's ever finished completion, and now all the child actors in it are too old to be able to continue continuity of the film anyway. So
Yeah. Right.
lost people significant amounts of money there. Right.
Yeah.
And that was all funded by mum and dad investors. So probably it affected 30 or 40 people's investments pretty severely.
Wow.
And
So
it was also
the truck now.
I was going to say, it was also partnered with another production that was tied in with Australian Supernova, which is similar to Comic-Con convention.
That's right. Yeah.
Completely screwed them before.
So if you were to miraculously somehow win the case, win the appeal on the 27th, and then there was another order made to have the truck returned, because it's not a matter of winning the appeal and automatically getting the truck back. That's a whole other story.
No, we need to go back to another whole court case in the civil courts to try and get that over the line, which even
so if you were to get it back,
yeah.
what sort of a position are you in with it now? I mean, you can't drive it back, so it'd need to be put on a truck and dragged back to Queensland.
It would need to be put on a truck. It would then need a full mechanical probably rebuild of all the brakes. Probably would be one thing. I mean, they were hammering around with a sledgehammer on the brakes, doing things they shouldn't have been doing when they were trying to tow it.
Yeah.
So there's probably some damage there. It's been sitting for so long that probably most of the all the hoses and hydraulics and all those sorts of things would need to be potentially replaced. It may need a full engine rebuild and possibly a full gearbox rebuild. So it had just had a gearbox rebuild done 6 months before I went on there. We had a few-year warranty and a few 100,000 I think how many 100,000 Ks warranty on it. Well, that warranty is now expired, and that rebuild was about $13,000 alone just for the gearbox rebuild.
Yeah. Sunflower says she doesn't understand why they took it in the first place. They took it to try and make an example of Paul, I think, or bringing trucks to Canberra. Do you think that's right?
I would suspect. I mean, we don't really know why, but I would suspect that it must have only been that it was fairly prominent and well seen on the day, and I assume that they were doing their best to create to basically create a good reason for people not to go to a Canberra rally again. I think they were trying to put the wind up every Australian. I don't think it was really about him at all. That would be my assumption, because he certainly didn't do anything with intent to cause any danger or problems to anyone. Like he wasn't. That was pretty apparent, and that was pretty obvious. It was obvious in the way the police behaved at the time. It was obvious in the fact that that the police, as it turned out, the officers that supposedly were affected by his driving didn't even put in a complaint, things like that. So the whole story unraveled a little bit, but it's still very bizarre. It seems like it was more like an afterthought to either support the fact that they did what they did with smashing the window, which if anyone remembers what that was just randomly with no direction to stop, no clear communication, no clear direction. This is what occurred there. Actually, I'll just put some video, some audio on that.
Yeah. He's lucky he didn't wind up with a broken arm with that baton that's come through that window.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. I mean, they claim that he was a danger to all the people around, but then they did that while he was in
driving a heavy vehicle.
driving a over 6-ton truck, just unladen as it was, and with 300 horsepower, with a foot on the accelerator. I mean, actually, probably the positive is, and probably the reason why things didn't actually go bad there, caused by their stupidity, was that he believes he probably had his foot riding on the brake the whole time, because we did the figures.
Yeah.
He was running at about 1.5 k's an hour at that time. That's how slow he was going.
1.5.
Now that 3 miles an hour is a reasonable speed walk. Now 3 miles an hour is what's that, about 5 k's an hour? So he was going at a very, very slow meander/walk. The people were walking faster than he was, so he was trying to be very cautious, and without any actual good, clear direction, they just went and did that, which is
it was hard to get.
Quite
it was hard to
dangerous.
get clear direction to Paul, because the police seemed to be giving clear direction to the Aussie Cossack, who was then translating that to Paul.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, but they didn't even after that period, like at that time that footage you just saw occurred, there wasn't actually any attempt of any direction, other than the fact that it looked like they were just walking along with him. So what are you supposed to do? I just see someone says they were out to get the Cossack. Well, that in itself is bizarre. The Cossack had been standing on the side of the truck at the time, and then he's gotten off conveniently just before that occurred, like literally a minute before that at the most. And then gotten out the front and is sort of acting as a reporter all of a sudden, and that has then. While that's happening, they've started smashing the window. He goes right up to the whole scenario, continues to be filming and talking and whatever. They didn't do anything to, they didn't seem to have any interest in doing anything to him. Yet it seems that because he was seen to be with the Cossack or driving the Cossack, he was targeted. So it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And then later, when he's an hour later then arrested, I only saw this more recently in a different angle of footage. Cossack and his video crew are literally a meter behind him while he's getting arrested. And again, there's no targeting the Cossack. It just seems a very bizarre set of circumstances. Doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that they necessarily should have targeted the Cossack, but if anyone was, a lot of the miscommunication came by the information that was getting given to the Cossack and then not given correctly to Paul and things like that. I mean, but if it doesn't make any sense, like they just went for him only, and then proceeded to try and destroy his life. And yet there was, as I say, there was no clear direction. What are you supposed to do if you're not getting directed and you assume you're being escorted? Like that's how it sort of appeared. That's what Paul thought was going on from what he could see. So yeah. And then they spend the subsequent 4 years trying to completely screw you over every which way you can. And then in the trial last year, there were 5 other charges, 4 of which of those were ones that were the original charges that were the only ones that really had any actual potential relation to the whole situation. I don't believe that they were warranted, but they were the only ones that could potentially be connected to them. They were all ripped and thrown out. Like they just dropped them. So it seems to be more about, the whole thing seems to be more about seizing the truck and making a big big scene out of it.
That's exactly right.
You know, it doesn't seem to be about anything else.
Unfortunately, the appeal will be all about process. So,
well, and the facts, you know, like the facts were in the evidence that
true
people gave there. Everybody there thought that they didn't see any direction to the alternative as to what Paul was supposed to do, and they thought that he was being let through, escorted around, and he was about 70 meters from the stage, and he's maintained that understanding right from the get-go. Yeah. So a lot of weird shortcomings that could have been handled very differently.
As Toxic says, he's lucky he's not a war hero. It could be handled much worse. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, I feel sorry for some of those guys too. That's an absolute disgrace. Like you go and put your life on the line, and then you get martyred when you get back for no good reason. Like, and until some of these politicians have spent a while at war in the front line, they don't really have the right to be throwing stones like that, I don't think. And you know, it's a very sad state of affairs. I mean, and it's a national security problem. What are we going to expect next time when those guys that are still in the force are faced in a circumstance? What do? Do they just hesitate for a second and get shot? I mean, that's not right either. War is war. It's a nasty thing. It's a horrible thing, and it's very easy to armchair comment on it, but it's not very it's not a fair way to look at it, I don't think.
No, very true, very true. All right. Well, I know you've had a big day at work, and I know I've had a big day starting very early this morning. So I'd like to thank you for stepping in for the other waving wonder who normally turns up on a Friday night. Vince, he's been a bit crook tonight, so he couldn't turn up. It's nice to have a stand-in beard. So we want to get as many people as we can to come and join us in Canberra. And look, I'll be honest, I would love to be there, and the only way I'll get there is via donation, folks. So if you can help us out, that'd be great. You can help out by buying something at merch.vofhq.com/shop, or you can just hit the donate button at vofhq.com. We're going down. The aim will be obviously there for the 27th, which is the actual day of the hearing. We don't know whether or not that will go 1 or 2 days or whatever it might be. Don't expect it'll go more than 2 days, I wouldn't think. Would you, Michael?
I think, well, it's listed for 1 day. I think it will only go for 1 day, but you can't be 100% sure. Unfortunately, Paul's still self-represented. Haven't been able to find a suitable representation for the circumstance. And as a result, with his severe dyslexia issues and challenges reading and writing, it makes the any proceedings in court very, very arduous, and doesn't flow as well as it could. So it may take longer than it may spill over into a second day, but hopefully it will be the one. We had quite good support during the 13-day trial, and we're very appreciative of the number of people that came and appeared and stayed in the court for that entire time. A lot of them travelled from long distances and stayed there at the drop of a hat. That was especially with how short notice we had that was even happening.
Exactly.
If anyone's able to get there for this, it would be quite good to see. The more people, the merrier. I think it would just be good to see that the matter is being taken seriously by a lot of people. It'd be lovely to see 50 or 100 people there, but we'll see what we get.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Thank you for joining us, and I'll be in touch. Got any specials at Camera House people should know about? Camera House Robina, that is.
Any specials? There's always good deals on camera gear. Yeah, plenty good stuff these days.
Go and hit Michael up. He's got drones. Just between you, me, and the gatepost, we've been talking drones. I can't afford one, but we've been
Come
talking
again.
about them a lot. All right, mate. Love your work. Thanks for dropping in
Thank
tonight.
you. Thanks for the
Cheers,
support.
mate. See ya. No worries at all. Michael Offe, brother of Paul. And if you can join us in Canberra, we would love you to be there the 24th of July. And obviously, if I can get down there, we'll probably stay, need the night before, the night of, the Monday, and probably on the Tuesday. We will organise to catch up probably at the Kingo for a meal. If there are folks, and I know that there are a number of folks in Canberra who would like to catch up. Daniel, I hope you're one of them. Jinder Lee, I hope you're one of them. Margaret, I'm sure, will be able to catch up. So many people in the Freedom family will know Margaret Reynolds. She is just a dear soul from Canberra. You will, if you don't know her personally, you will have seen her at every rally, at just about every protest that the Freedom movement has put together in the last 4 years. She's been at every one of them in Canberra. She's a very, very motivated 80-plus-year-old lady who has a mind like a steel trap and has just been put off from her job in the real estate game because of all these new requirements that real estate agents have to report this, that, and the other thing. And simply the admin burden on the place she was working was too much. And they had to lighten the load of real estate agents that they had. And rather than increase the number of administrators they had to fill in the paperwork, she's been a victim of that. So I'm not sure, Margaret, God love you, might be time to retire. But I know you're not that sort of soul. You've got to be out and you've got to be active. So God bless you, and I'll look forward to seeing you down there. We'll go and have lunch. Now, there's a couple of places. It might not be the Kingo. We could go and have lunch at the Workers' Club. I seem to remember that. I saved a lady's life in the Workers' Club once, but that's a story for other people to tell. Pipe Master, just want to say thank you. That $20 will go a great distance. Well, not in fuel, but it'll go a great distance. I really appreciate it. Love your work, mate, and hope to talk to you and the other half that you have in the not too distant future. And thank you for reaching out and helping one of our family earlier this week, just between you, me, and the gatepost. I know you probably don't like me putting names and places and faces out there, so I won't. But suffice to say, folks, that the Pipe Master went and visited one of our family this week and made safe a piece of equipment that she wants to use, and hopefully it will work for her and will help her make a speedier recovery. Okay, thank you, brother. Liability, mate, really appreciate that. Your donation, every little bit helps. Can't thank you enough for that. I'm just having a bit of a look. Yes. Thank you, Synchronicity Show. Yes. I'll just leave it at that. Yes. Yes. I've started too many fights this week. Paul, you hope he gets the truck back. Well, we hope he will too, but the truck's worth nothing. Right now, the police, I think part of the reason that the police are fighting this so much, the return of this vehicle so hard, is because of the damage they've done to it. They were made aware very early on of the vehicle's value and the jobs that it had already booked and the movies and associated other things it was associated with. And these supposed professionals did some things to that vehicle that should never be done to a heavy rig when it's had its air pin pulled. When you pull the air pin on a heavy vehicle with air brakes, it drops all the air out of the vehicle and locks the brakes on. Now, any truck driver, anybody experienced with any knowledge whatsoever would be able to identify that was the significant issue as to why you couldn't shift the vehicle. Or you would ask the owner of it, who happened to be standing beside the truck, why it wasn't moving, and could they please have the PIN so that they could relocate it, in which case Paul would have given them the PIN. Paul was arrested and dragged off before they skull dragged the truck off. That's why he, I guess he didn't give it to them when they saw a tow truck turn up. We don't know the damage that's been done to the gearbox in that regard, but they also managed to, for no apparent reason, break one of the driver's side door. And that door has been left to stay open to the elements this whole time. Now, that's had 3 years of birds nesting in it, rats nesting in it, the cold, the wet, the Canberra snow, the Canberra dews, the Canberra ice, everything has been on the inside of that truck and the outside. All the tires are basically flat. The brakes are locked on. They've destroyed it. And they know that there is a hell of a damages claim waiting to be handed to them. They've made the offer on more than one occasion. They've made the offer that Paul can have the truck back. He just can't sue them for damages on it. Well, that truck was meant to be Paul's lifeline for work for the rest of his life, essentially. It was going to be able to set him up in the limo business. And believe you me, on the Gold Coast at $1,000 an hour, he would have got jobs. Have no doubt he would have got really good jobs, regular jobs. He didn't need to have 10 of them a week. He only needed to have 2. So that sort of thing was well and truly lined up, and only in its infancy, I think he had jobs booked. He never got to do one of them in it. They were booked for the day he got back from, or the day after he got back from Canberra. And of course, he didn't get back with the truck. So it's quite sad the way that police have done this. We also have video of one of those police officers clambering into the truck, and one of the GoPros, or in fact, all of the GoPros inside the vehicle, caught this copper saying, "Oh, I want this truck," in a way that was, desirous. Not I want to get it, like I'm a copper and I want to rip it off you, you bastard. It's like, "Oh, I want this," which made it sound a lot like he was going to put it in process that his hand would be the first hand stuck up and the first one seen at any auction of the vehicle going forward. And that's exactly what the AFP tried to do. They tried to sell the truck, and had it not been for some well-worded statements from Paul in court and a willing magistrate, they would have sold that truck within 12 months of them taking it. And then we would be fighting now over the proceeds of that sale. But the truck itself would have gone to the lowest bidder, the copper who put his hand up first, no doubt, and say, "Oh, yeah, $10,000 and I'll take it tomorrow." That's been successfully blocked, not once, not twice, but 3 times now. But if he loses this appeal, it's gone. But like we say, the truck is worth next to nothing now. It would take a lot of money to just go through it and replace what is actually easily seen to be replaced. The fact that there have been rats in it could have chewed the wiring looms out. And would you like to do that? What would the bill on that be? God, couldn't begin. So it would have to be a basic, complete write-off. And, well, we wouldn't like that for Paul's case, or we would like to see him compensated at the very least. So if you can come and see us in Canberra, I would love to see you there. Pardon me, Sandy, Baz, every chance I'll be calling in on the way down or on the way back, or both. Pardon me. And we'll catch up with the donkeys, see how they're going. I'll bring something warm, Canberra in July. Won't that be fun? Oh, well, at least I'll be able to mix it with some of my most favoritist people in the absolute friggin' world. And the dickheads who will be on the roads.
You
Have a good
let
weekend.
one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!